And now I shall call upon President-elect Susan Muramana to kindly recite the four-way test for us.
Of the things we say and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much, President-elect Susan. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have something to drink, if you could kindly raise a glass, alternatively hand to the chest, as we raise a toast to the President of the Republic of Kenya. To the President. We now have a very interesting segment where we have introduction of our various guests. And of course, Dr. Margareta, if you can make a brief introduction and welcome of our guest speaker, and then of course we will have the introduction just before the talk again, where you can elaborate further. We'll begin with you, Dr. Margareta. Thereafter, anyone who has guests, kindly.
Could I introduce my guests first?
Yes, certainly.
I'd like to introduce Faith Oneo. She is a journalist and many other things, administrator in a great deal of fields. Right now, she's working with the International Red Cross, but has many talents to herself. And I just wanted her to come today. I think she's interested in Rotary. She was a Rotary actor in her previous life. So we are most welcome, Faith.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me now. Yes, thanks for the introduction.
Are there other guests? Ritesh?
Yes, of course, we will have the introduction of our speaker soon, but we have Miss Miriam Ogunyo. If you could kindly identify whose guest you are.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Miriam. I'm a guest of Mumbai, Maryland.
Welcome, welcome, welcome all to the meeting today. And we do have a couple of announcements. But just before we begin the announcements, I'd like to request if you would allow us just a minute or two for catching up on the activities which have taken place over the last week or over the weekend. And there was a very successful cancer awareness walk, which was carried out by Faraja in collaboration with many partners, including Rotary. And Rotary Club of Nairobi also had a role to play. And Dr. Beatrice, if it's okay, would you mind unmuting and sharing a little bit about all the hard work which has gone behind the planning of the Saturday event?
Well, thank you very much. A real privilege to be able to speak briefly about the work that went into our partnership with Faraja. Faraja was looking to fundraise for the childhood cancer awareness activities that they are involved in. It's a really worthy cause, dear to many hearts of Rotarians amongst us. And our own past president, Aaron Devani, was very gracious and was really the driving force behind getting us all rallied up and involved in the walk that was hosted at Karura Forest on the 24th of September, which was a Saturday just gone. We were gifted the opportunity to participate, sponsored by PP Arun Divani, whose birthday it incidentally happened to fall on. And so his gift to us was very graciously sponsoring 111 members and guests from the Rotary Club of Nairobi to take part in the 3 categories of walks. We could do the 21 kilometer, 10 kilometer, or 5 kilometer. And a handful of us had the privilege of working behind the scenes to get everyone involved. So I'm very pleased to announce that we were able to get 95 out of the 111 to participate. And that was a Rotary Club of Nairobi's contribution. But I think what was even more wonderful was we were able to enjoy each other's company while getting a little bit of exercise, and we were able to crown the morning's activities with a celebration of PP Aaron's birthday. He got away with not telling us exactly how young he is, but it was wonderful to see a smile on his face. And of course, his dear wife, Ela, joined us. So my personal congratulations to the team who were working with me, because there was a lot of things that went on behind the scenes. And I think we look forward to being able to do this again. Thank you all for participation and support.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beatrice. And yes, that's a very beautiful way to celebrate a birthday. And one can only imagine the amount of work which took place behind the scenes to enable the event to run smoothly. And as we can witness in all the photographs which were shared, remarkably, beautifully. It was very well celebrated. And very, very happy birthday once again to past President Arun. And Dr. Beatrice, since we are giving announcements and we have a couple more, but I'd like this opportunity to let the members know about the district initiative that's taking place for the cleft lip, cleft palate surgeries. And this is in partnership with Lions as well as NPAS Hospital. And I'd like the members to know that our very own member, Dr. Beatrice Kiptanui, is playing a very vital role in the core committee for that particular project, has spent many hours ensuring that the project runs smoothly. And I can only thank her at this point, for all the efforts she's put in. And the project is also called Project Smile, or what's the other name it's been given, Dr. Beatrice?
Actually, it's been because there's quite a few parties that are participating, it's been dubbed Project Smile, and in Swahili, Tabasamu Toto. There's also Gift of Smile. So there's lots of joint efforts coming together. It's been amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. And thank you, Dr. Beatrice, for making the world smile.
Doing my little bit. I shall say a little more when I get a chance later, but thank you all. I must thank you all for supporting. As AG Ritesh has mentioned, it's a collaboration between 4 Rotary clubs, NPAS Hospital, Lions, and we've also incorporated quite a few surgeons and specialists, one of them coming from India. And so our hope is that we are able to host at least 20 operations for patients affected with cleft lip and palate of varying degrees of severity. And apart from Rotary Club of Nairobi giving monetary contributions, because it just so happens that being a Rotarian, I'm also a craniofacial orthodontist, and that's my subspecialty. I've had the privilege of sitting in with the technical team to plan the screening of the patients, the organization of the actual operations, and the post-operative care, because of course, these amazing patients require help with different aspects like speech and hearing deficits, and also nutritional support. So I must warn, if I'm allowed to speak about it, I can go on for hours. So I think I should stop now because we're looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful presentation from our guest speaker. But thank you for giving me the time to share a little bit about it and for supporting the good cause.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much, Rotarian Dr. Beatrice. Thank you. And yes, like you mentioned, such a particular project or such a case actually involves a lot of activity, a lot of check, a lot of medical checkups and procedures. So it's not as simple as it looks. And thanks very much for representing Rotary Club of Nairobi. And now I shall call upon I'll make two further announcements, after which I'll call upon Dr. Margareta Wagasheru to share with us about the district art exhibition. The two announcements I have on behalf of President Dr. Josephine are as follows. The first is a very important one. District Governor Azim Asrat is going to begin her official club visits in Nairobi on Monday. She's currently in Mombasa. And next Thursday, on the 6th of October, our club is going to be having a physical meeting at Red Ginger, which is along 2nd Avenue, Parklands. And the ticketing details are going to be shared. I believe it's going to be 1,500 shillings per head. And President Josephine is requesting that since this is the official visit by the governor, it would be ideal to have 100% attendance. So what we would request is if members can kindly start submitting, remitting the payment of 1,500 to our wonderful PA, Anthony. He's going to share the number on the chat group. And we can start registering for the event next week, which is our club meeting, but it's the district governor's official visit. It's a very important meeting, perhaps the most important meeting in the Rotary Diary, where we get to engage with our governor and to understand what exactly is required of each Rotary Club in order to meet citation goals this Rotary year. So kindly do plan to attend the meeting next week, 12:30 p.m., Red Ginger. The next announcement I have is past President Arun Devani has once again very generously kept club officials training at his residence for the board members. And the reason I was requested to share this with the club today is as a thank you to, of course, past President Arun Devani, and also to let the board members know that they should avail themselves next week on Friday. It's going to be a meeting hosted by past President Arun Devani for the board, and it's going to be the club officials training, subsequent to which there is probably going to be a future meeting where all the club officials will be in a position to share with the club members what they discussed and learned. And with that, we also say a very special thank you to past President Arun Devani once again. Excuse me. And I will now call upon Dr. Margareta Wagasheru to kindly share with us about the End Polio for Good art exhibition. Sorry, Dr. Margareta, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, past President Ritesh. I am thrilled to inform our members that before the actual art exhibition, Imagine Rotary is, and to end polio for good, is going to take off in November for at the Sereno Hotel. We are creating a virtual art exhibition which we will be happy to share throughout the district, and also especially within our club. We will enable our members to not just donate to end polio for good, which is one of the key issues that our DG is concerned with, but to buy beautiful art. And there'll be a wide selection, probably wider than what you will see when you go to the Serena, but that's okay, because you 50% of the work of the payments will go to the artist, and 50% will go to polio, ending polio. We wanted to be fair to both the artists and to our project. So we look forward to your supporting the initiative and to learn to love Kenyan and East African art, which is what it will be focused on. And thank you very much, Ritesh, for your support. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Margareta, for chairing this very special initiative for the art exhibition for the district. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the meaty and juicy part of the meeting, where we get to hear our wonderful guest speaker. And once again, I'll call upon Dr. Margareta Wagasheru to kindly give a formal introduction of our speaker for today, Mr. Stuart Nash.
Thank you, Ritesh. It's my privilege to introduce Stuart Nash. He is an all-round entertainer, performer, actor, and theater man who is in every respect someone associated with film, theater, television, and is just a marvelous person and teacher. He founded the Nairobi Performing Arts Studio several years ago, but before that, he was from age 9. He's been on stage in the West End of London performing, and he's been performing the rest of his life. But he is also a composer and has been involved with the Kenya scene for several years, producing shows, musicals like Jesus Christ Superstar, Grease, Caucasian Chalk Circle, and a number of other wonderful projects which have really enlightened young Kenyans and sparked them to see the theater and entertainment and enlightenment, education really, as a career, because performance is really enlightening if it's done well. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm happy to have Stuart come today, because whatever he does really well. We his
Sorry, Dr. Margareta, we seem to have lost you.
Yes.
Dr. Margareta?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry.
Yes. Excuse me. But where is her friend Stuart? He's there.
I'm here. Sorry, I wasn't sure if you finished or not.
Yes, I said yes. But Ritesh, you want to?
No, I just want to say welcome.
Yes, please.
Welcome.
Yes, we welcome you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really honoured to be here. I've not done a speech before for the Rotary Club. Obviously, I've heard a lot about it and the great work it does, charitable causes. So I hope I can live up to Margareta's introduction. So Margareta asked me to come to talk about theatre, maybe more specifically musical theatre. That's my speciality, although I have directed plays as well. So I'd just like to talk for a couple of minutes at the beginning, and then about my background and how I came to be in theatre, and actually how I came to be in Kenya, because it wasn't actually my plan. So as Margareta said, I started in the theatre when I was 9 in London, in a show called Oliver, which some of you may know. It was in the West End, and that was a really great experience for me, because it really gave me the feeling of what performing to a live audience can be like. Yes, I have worked in film and TV as well, but I think really theatre is my first love. And honestly, if you speak to a lot of actors, they will generally tell you the same thing. Yes, TV and film will bring in extra money, but theatre, there's something about theatre, or for a start, doing being in the show beginning to end. It's not like film or TV where you might film the last scene of the film first. It's all shot out of sequence. And the other thing is about film is that you don't get that immediate feedback from the audience in the same way that you do standing on a stage, and immediately whether they like it or not. I think one of the Lord of the Rings films, actually, they were filming some of the parts 4 years before the film actually came out. So if you imagine filming your scenes and then not seeing it on the screen until 4 years later. I mean, I did, as Margareta said, I was an actor in London. I've just shot a TV series here that I was asked to act in for Showmax. It's called Pepetta, which was, I finished shooting about 2 months ago, and already I'm feeling, when is this coming out? When am I going to see it? Whereas, obviously with theatre, you get that immediate feedback. And I think even if you speak to a lot of actors in Hollywood, they'll tell you that they do film and TV for money, but theatre is really their love. So I started, as I said, when I was 9 in the West End. I've done a number of productions in the West End, including a show called Martinguer, which was written by the same people as Les Miserables. I was in the Rocky Horror Show, City of Angels. Done about 6 or 7 shows in London. I've also been in shows that have toured Europe. And as Margareta said, I have written music, which is, I guess, an odd combination in one person. But I have to tell you that one thing that I absolutely love about Kenya is I feel that people are not, well, in the arts anyway, one is not pigeonholed into, well, if you're an actor, you can't be a composer, or you can't, if you're an actor, then that is what you can do and nothing else. And I feel that in the UK, there's that sense of, if you're good at one thing, you can't be good at somebody else. And one thing I've learned since in my time in Kenya is that everybody has a side hustle. So I really love that sense that you can do everything here. So the way that the composing happened was one of those situations where I was actually acting in a show, and it's so bizarre the way things happen. You'd think these shows would be more organized when they've got budgets of like $1 million or $5 million, but they're not really. I always tell my actors a story about when I was in a show in London. I think the budget was like $10 million. It's the one that was written by the same people as Les Miserables, and there was a change of cast. The reviews for the first year had not been brilliant, but I think they'd kept it on because they felt that there was a potential in the show. And so they were making loads and loads of changes. Half the cast were leaving. I was in the cast that was joining, and they were changing all these things. And I, as actors, we need motivation for whatever we're doing. Even if I pick up this bottle in a show, there must be a reason why I'm picking up. Okay, it might just be something as simple as I'm thirsty and want a drink, but nobody does things for no reason. Anyway, so we were doing this show with these rehearsals a week before the show, and everyone was panicking because it wasn't really working. Anyway, and I said, why are we doing this? They gave us this thing to do, whatever it was. And I remember saying to the choreographer, why are we doing this? And he said, don't worry about it, just do it and we'll justify it later. Anyway, that was quite funny. So what actually happened was that I was in this show and I played the piano. I have a teacher's diploma on the piano. And the producer, the composer that was scheduled to do the play dropped out. It was the world stage premiere of Brideshead Revisited that some of you that you may know. And they thought that because I played the piano, I could compose music, which I thought was so funny. It's like assuming that because somebody's an actor, they can direct, or, you know, that, yes, obviously there is a connection. Anyway, so I didn't even know that I could compose music. But they, you know, I was only, God, I must have been like 22 at the time. And then somebody comes up to you on a big production and says, oh, you know, can you write the music for this show? I was like, okay. So anyway, I did it, and it turns out I could do it. So I wrote the music for that, and then it went on to a number of other shows. What was it, Wuthering Heights? I did a score for The Jungle Book, The Snowman, East of Eden, and Wind in the Willows. So that was a really weird connection. But I'm sure Margareta actually probably didn't even know that I composed music, because you know me here as a director. So it was only, I think it was only when I sent my CV to her that she actually knew that I did that. Yeah, but I haven't done a lot of that in Kenya, because again, it's that thing that people don't know me for that. But I did quite a lot. I did a couple of national commercials that showed across America when I was living in LA for 3 years as well. Yeah, so that's kind of my background. How I came to be in Kenya was really weird as well. It's like one of those things that you couldn't plan it. But basically, I have a small investment in Zanzibar, and I'd been going from London to Zanzibar a lot, and never really been in the mainland. So after having been to Zanzibar about 10 times, I really had this sense that I wanted to, you know, do safaris and all of that in mainland Tanzania. So I decided to go on a train from from Dar es Salaam, that we were supposed to go to Mbeya, but we ended up only getting as far as somewhere that would have been 2 hours by road, but took about 20 hours on the train because it broke down. Anyway, and when the train was broken down, the only carriage which had any electricity was the bar. So I went into that, was in there because it was the only place to get anything, and I met a guy there who had a timber business in Tanzania, and very weird thing. Anyway, I ended up living in Tanzania for 3 years and setting up a timber business there. And then by chance, there was the owner of a school, a Kenyan school. Her son also worked in that rural town in Tanzania. And again, it was that thing, because I can act, somebody assumed that I could direct, and I was asked to direct a show in Kenya, and I came here a few years ago, and then I was asked to do another one and another one. Yeah, and that was really weird the way that happened, because if I'd never got that train, the train hadn't broken down, I hadn't met that guy to set up a timber business in Tanzania, I wouldn't be in Nairobi today. So that was a really weird chain of events that you couldn't possibly have planned. So since I've been in Kenya, I've directed a number of productions. The one that most people probably know me for was I did Sarafina at the Kenya National Theatre twice. The first production had Brenda Warimu in it, and Gilad, the singer, and a number of other people. Then the then governor of Nakuru paid for the production to go to Nakuru, which was absolutely amazing. He paid for the cast and everybody to go. That was a real experience. And then the other show that and then there was a gap because of COVID, and the other show probably people know me for as a director, is the Ngugi wa Thiong'o show, I'll Marry When I Want, Gai Kadeda. Please Kikuyus don't laugh at my Kikuyu accent. Yeah, which we did. We started rehearsing for that the beginning of 2020, and we'd probably done about 5 rehearsals, and then COVID happened and we stopped. So really we were just waiting for the whole COVID thing to die down, which it did. And then we did it earlier in May this year. That was quite successful. People seemed to really like it. I think they were quite shocked that Mzungu could direct a Kikuyu show, which was quite fun. Then after that, most recently, in fact, last week, I directed a Molière. Actually, it was based on a Molière play for Alliance Française, which was a lot of fun. So we took a 400-year-old French comedy and transplanted it to a fictitious African state in 2022. And I was really nervous about that because that's quite a task. I wasn't sure if it would work or any of it, but I was working with John Sibiakumu, who was a production consultant, who you might know. And I think it was really successful, and people seem to really love it. And we've been asked to present it again at Kit Fest, which is a theatre festival in November at the Kenya National Theatre. We're moving forward. We had such a lot of really great reviews, and for the Ngugi wa Thiong'o show, that we thought about doing it again. I mean, we actually probably turned away about 300 or 400 people at the door because there were just no tickets left. And then we also had to refund loads and loads of money because people kept paying on a pay bill, and it was so difficult. You can't turn a pay bill off. Apparently you can suspend it, but if you suspend it, you can't have access to the money. Or you can keep paying into it and not have access to the money, but you can't have access to the money and stop people paying in. So we needed access to the funds to pay for the ongoing expenses for the show. So we had to refund about 300 people as well. So when a couple of dates came up, which is next week actually, some dates came up for us to redo the production. So everybody seems to want to do it again. So we're redoing the Ngugi show starting next week. Then it's on next weekend and the following weekend. Other productions we have in the pipeline is we're looking at doing Betrayal in the City in March next year. And we also have the right to do a stage adaptation of Nairobi Half-Life, which we will be presenting in August next year. So that's kind of a snapshot of what I do, what I've done, how what I've done in theatre mainly here and abroad. So. If anybody's got any questions that they would like to ask me about musicals or theatre generally, I can answer them. Actually, there's a question here. How can theatre be financed? Producing a theatrical production is quite expensive. Ticket sales generally can't cover the finance. Absolutely. That is absolutely correct. In fact, we in the first major show that I did at the Kenya National Theatre was a show called Jesus Christ Superstar, and we lost 1.4 million shillings on that. Yeah. So, and then even the next one we did, which was Greece, lost 500,000. So it's really, yeah. So unfortunately, and this is not just happening here, this is happening everywhere in the world. The productions that I choose now tend to be ones that it's got a built-in audience to it. Like we thought that people would want to see the Ngugi wa Thiong'o show because of the history of it. It's not been done for 45 years and everything that surrounded it. However, when we did it at the Kenya National Theatre, it was well attended, but then we took it to Limuru, which was obviously Ngugi wa Thiong'o's hometown, the town where it was shut down 45 years ago. And hardly anybody came to see it. So it's really, you know, and we did a lot of advertising in Limuru. We actually did a flash mob in the street and stopped the traffic on the main road for half an hour. It was really quite a lot, but not that many people came to see it. So whilst the one at the National Theatre made money, the one at in Limuru lost quite a lot of money. So it's really difficult. How can theatre be financed? Honestly, I don't know. We don't have any sponsors at all. I know other theatre companies do have sponsors, but we don't. I think really it's because, you know, I'm not Kenyan and I don't really know where to start with that. I've tried approaching a couple of people who may be able to act as a broker, but it's not worked out. So I just finance the shows myself, which is obviously a massive risk every time because the budget's around, I think Aikadeda was around 2.8 or 2.9 million to put it on. So it's quite a risk. It's a shame. It's a shame, but it happens everywhere. Even in the West End in London, you see, and on Broadway, you see endless Disney shows because they know they're going to sell. They're especially in those more maybe like completely commercial environments, because you know you can put on a show and lose 10 million pounds or dollars in a couple of weeks if it doesn't work out. So it's really hard. I can't really help you with that about how to finance them because I just do it myself because I don't know any other way.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm an English major from Brandeis University. Leonard Bernstein
Right.
was the first creative director to my undergraduate. So,
oh, wow.
And I'm from New York too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course we were all, I'm sure all of us here
You were going to tell
remember the joy Phoenix House players. So, Mr. Nash, I hope we can get together. I'm in Nairobi. I'm working on a project now with Martin Kigondu on theater.
Oh, hey, Martin Kigondu is in my show. He's
inviting. I can't see it, but I'll find you, Mr. Nash, if that's all right.
Yeah, definitely. Please call me Stuart.
Thank you until we get together. We move forward.
Yeah,
together.
definitely. I would love that. Yeah.
Very good.
So unfortunately, I would love to. In fact, at one stage we were going to do Chicago because I love that show and I feel it could really work in a Kenyan environment. But the risk, I just felt the risk was too great. And
Cooper Rust just did that fantastic ballet. She had hundreds of dancers in full costume. How did you do that? But Harry Ballet, the last creative director from Phoenix House, was going to produce Ian Mbugwa in Waiting for Godot, and then he passed away. I hope it's still in the cards. That's theater at its cheapest. That would be excellent for theater.
The thing about Cooper has a dance school, right? So I feel when I've done a couple of shows for schools, and because you kind of have a built-in audience with that, because you know that all the parents, all the relatives are going to come. So there is a risk still in putting up the show, but I feel it's mitigated by the fact that all of those kids have parents, uncles, aunties, and everything that are almost guaranteed to come and see the show. I think it's slightly different when it's just completely a commercial venture. And there's only the ticket sales from, it could be anybody or nobody. I was quite shocked actually when we did Jesus Christ Superstar that a lot of people hadn't heard of that show. So
I saw that. It was wonderful. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
So, and I came to Serafina too.
Oh,
I love
great.
That.
So, and it's okay. So how Jesus Christ Superstar came about is that the National Theatre approached me about doing a partnership on a show, and they said we'd like it at Easter. I was like, fine. Somebody asked me what show could we do, and I thought, great, Jesus Christ Superstar, musical about the last 7 days of Jesus' life, perfect for Easter. And then loads of people didn't come because they thought it was a crusade, because that's what I was told afterwards. So that didn't really work out. So yeah, so now I'm a bit more careful, let me say. Oh. Yeah, if anybody's got any. Oh, another thing we do.
Thank you to Dr. We could dominate this whole talk. Thank you to Dr. Margareta Wakachero, Miss Stuart. Joan Seacon is my name, and you'll be hearing from me shortly.
Definitely,
Hello.
no problem.
Get together.
Thank
you. I just spoke with you now.
Thank you. And another thing, actually, if I could mention, I didn't mention that we also have like a performing arts arm of Nairobi Performing Arts Studio, which provides training in acting, singing, and dance. And that was something that it was just started as a small thing, but what really pushed it was that, well, before COVID, we had around 120 students every week. And then COVID came in, it was a disaster. So we stopped all of that. However, within the first few months of COVID, I had an idea to maybe we could provide free online classes for primary and secondary school students. Because I'm sure you remember when the schools were just suddenly closed, and I'm sure there were thousands of parents at home wondering what to do with their kids all day when they were expecting them to be at school and they were suddenly not at school. So I had an idea that maybe we could provide free online classes. And so I asked the CS, Amina Mohammed, what she thought about it, being the CS of Culture, on her docket, and she thought it was a really good idea. So we thought it would just be like a 1 month thing, and then schools were going to go back. And so we put this curriculum together for 1 month. And then, well, schools didn't go back, and we started off with, so we were thinking it was going to be a 1 month thing with a few students. So we had about 150 students at the beginning, and then we ended up doing from April or May right through to December, and we ended up with 4,000 registrations. So that was quite an eye opener. It was a great thing to do, and the ministry funded the teachers to do the training online. But that was really interesting. But one thing that came out of it was when we got to December, we did our final monologue presentation. One thing that happened was that we were stopping, and a lot of students were coming to us and saying, "Oh, what happens next?" Or even teachers, parents, "What happens next?" And we were kind of saying, you go back to school, then we go back to doing our thing. And it kind of became apparent that there were not a lot of opportunities for training in acting. So we were actually asked by a number of principals to actually take training into the schools as a club. So we also do training with that as well, which was something really rewarding. I know there's the drama festivals, which is I think it's great that Kenya has drama festivals, and we have nothing like that in the UK, which is really disappointing. It seems such an amazing institution in Kenya, but we just don't have it. So although that tends to be kind of, from the way I understand it, like rehearsing a script and performing it, there's not so much of a training element to that. So we were asked by some principals to do some training in school, so we do that as well. So that's the performing art, that's the training side of what we do. So we're a production company and a training company as well. So there's another question, I believe, Ritesh.
Yes, there is. Thank you. I'll call upon Dr. Manu Chandaria. Kindly ask a question. Sorry, Dr. Manubhai, you're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I'm on mute now. Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear you.
All right. If you can hear me, fine,
Mhm.
fine.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just have two questions about this. You're losing so much money on National Theatre. Now, we built a Center for Performing Arts at the Nairobi University with 500 people sitting. Unfortunately, I think they did not pay attention to the stage, and maybe they've not got enough way of really putting up the shows. But I think somebody must be able to look at it and find out what could be done. But the other day, I opened up another Chandaria theater, which is 800 seats. It is near Lions Eye Hospital. So I don't understand why, how could you be losing money on these issues? Because if your cost is too high, a number of people visiting are too low, then obviously you'll lose the money.
Okay, let me answer that question first. So in terms of, I feel the theatre is, there's still an element that it's viewed as an elitist pastime. Not everywhere, even in the UK or America or anywhere that I've been to do theatre, it's not necessarily every single person that would want to go to do that. And also, in terms of the cost, when we did Jesus Christ Superstar, we were charging, I think, 1,500 per ticket. And I remember an actress who, Mkamze Mwatela, saying that, you know, people look at the ticket price and they think, should I go to the theatre or should I buy 5 beers? And so there's an element of what else can be done with that money. Also, I've been to the Chandaria auditorium at UON. In terms of that is, let me say, it's like a presentation hall. It's very geared, to me, it seems like it's geared towards people giving like talks or that kind of thing. Whereas what we do is a theatre production. I think that the Chandaria Hall at UON could be very easily used as a corporate venue. And I know that corporates will pay a lot of money to use a hall like that. We don't do that. We just do theatre productions. So, and it's a combination. I feel it's a combination that not so many. If you look at the percentage of people in any country that go to the theatre, I think it's probably quite a small percentage, and that combined with a show that not many people had heard of, that's how we ended up losing money on it. So that was the first question, right? Was there another question?
इसके ऊपर वो जंबा मट गया
Sorry,
मुकिन बदे ऊपर गयो गयो छे
I think you have answered, Dr.
One thing I would say, I will add to that, is that I was actually in the car on the way to the office to do this call, and we were talking about Jesus Christ Superstar, about redoing it, because a lot of people think it was one of the best shows that we've done, and I do feel that doing it again, I feel like we built up an audience now that we probably could get a following for it. All the shows that I'd done before that point were school shows. I'd done 3 school shows, and that was the first show that I'd done with a completely adult cast. So people didn't really know me as a director at that point. So, but I feel that now probably it would do a lot better, because we do have a following now. Okay.
Sorry, thank you so much, Mr. Nash.
Okay.
Dr. Manubhai, do you have any further question? Sorry, I believe you're on mute.
I just wanted to ask that how come you're making loss? on a very small theater. Either the cost of production are too high or there are not enough people. Because we built these two facilities, one for 500 sitting at the University of Nairobi. I understand it's only used as an auditorium. But in olden days, Nairobi University used to do shows and go around the country. Now they don't. And then I also opened up the other day a Chandaria Theatre, which is near Line I Center somewhere, for 800 seats.
I think as a venue, I'm sure the Kenya National Theatre makes money, and I'm sure the Tanjandharia halls make money. But as for theatre productions, it's kind of niche, and it's more expensive than going to the cinema or anything like that. And the other thing is that if you look at the cinema or movies, there are a number of revenue streams that can offset the budget. So obviously you've got the tickets for selling in the cinema, then there's TV rights, there's streaming rights, there's an endless, it can be syndicated on television. So there's loads and loads of ways how a film can make money. And the same with the venue. Over a period of time, you can have lots of different events that are going on there. It can be fashion shows, it could be a conference, it could be a theatre show. There are loads of options. I'm talking about one production. So we have, the budget is what it is, and I don't think it could be reduced. If it was reduced any more than it is, and then it from a level lower than what it is, I feel like it would impact the quality of the production. So if you think about something like Sarafina, where we had a cast of over 40, there were 25 people backstage moving the scenery. There were all loads and loads of there we had like 10 or 15 people in the orchestra pit, because they had a live band as well. I actually remember when we were doing that show, we were ordering 122 plates of food per day. So although there might be only one person on the stage, there are another 121 that are involved in getting that production on. And with the theatre, there are only a limited number of performances and only a limited number of seats. So we have to sell over 70% of the seats, I think, just to break even, which is over 12 shows. That's a lot of tickets that we need to sell.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nash. And I will now call upon past President Arun Devani.
Thank you, President. Just a small question. What's the source of your funding for running the program?
Me, I'm the source of it. We don't have any sponsorship. I put my own money into the shows to make them happen.
So, I'm just talking from the Rotary point. Whatever projects we come out with, unless they become self-sustaining, it becomes a more of an ego project for individuals rather than a long-term serving one. I'm sorry, I don't know your background, how wealthy you are, etc. But really, I think the number of programs that we come out with Rotary and we support are those who become totally self-sustaining. So really, I tend to indirectly agree with Dr. Chandaria that why carry on something where you're always either begging from people, initially startup, we can understand, or putting your own money, unless you're a very great philanthropist and you are Bill Gates, you got a lot of money.
Okay, well, I'm not Bill Gates and I don't have that much money. But to answer your question, the earlier shows that we did are the ones that lost the money, and then that's now why I choose to do shows which have got a built-in audience, as I was saying earlier. So obviously the Ngugi Wa Thiong'o, there's a certain audience that are definitely going to come and see that. Betrayal in the City, same thing. And Nairobi Half-Life, everybody knows that, and a lot of people would like to see a stage adaptation. So I'm choosing the shows that I think will not lose money. Sarafina was another one. In terms of why I'm doing it, so I think it's really, I've been told a number of times that theatre in Kenya is something which is evolving, and it's really exciting to be on that journey of evolving art. Theatre in the UK, I find it's brilliant, but so, you know, it's all been done. So it's really exciting to be in Kenya and working on productions and trying out new ideas, which I love. So it's not that I'm constantly losing money. Also, the productions that we do work as some kind of marketing for our classes as well. So any schools that we go into, or any classes that we do as NPAS, the fact that we do these productions, it does, you know, it acts as a marketing tool. And also a lot of our students are in the shows, so they are part of their course is to be in the show as well. So it's not like we're constantly losing money on productions. They were the early ones, and now we're in a place where we're not losing money on every show. So, and as I said, it's great to be part of an evolving art form.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Nash. And I'll.
Oh, Manu, somebody's Manu is suggesting your ticket sales are too high. I think our ticket sales are comparable to other productions. Even, you know, okay, maybe a play which has got only 6 people in and one set, no music, maybe they could charge 1,000. But you know, our shows have a lot. They can't be done with a smaller number of people. You can't. It's not the same having just a keyboard in the orchestra pit as it is having a 9-piece band. It's just not the same. And if we already have to sell 70%, around 70% just to break even, if we reduce the ticket price by, I feel it would have to be reduced significantly to really make an impact. I think if somebody's going to pay 1,200, they're going to pay 1,500. So we'd have to probably reduce it to less than 1,000 for it to make it have any impact on who comes to see the shows. And then we would probably have to sell like 90% of the tickets, which is a really, really tall order. Another question. The cost of arts and culture to society needs to be quantified. In what way, Joan? Yeah.
Could I kindly request? Thank you, Mr. Nash. I'll request all the ladies and gentlemen who are present, kindly do keep the questions coming in. And I'll request Mr. Nash to kindly stay on for a few more minutes. At this point in time, I'll request, since we've had such a wonderful presentation from Mr. Stuart Nash, I'll request Dr. Beatrice Kiptanui on behalf of the Rotary Club of Nairobi to give a vote of thanks to our speaker. And thereafter, for the question, we could request our guest speaker to kindly stay back a few more minutes. Dr. Beatrice.
No problem.
Well, thank you once again for the opportunity to say our thank you to our guest speaker. Mr. Nash, as you've gathered, there's a lot of engaging minds, and that's usually a thing that you have caught our attention. There's so much to say regarding your story and your journey. I'm not sure I will be able to include everything, but an amazing, amazing journey. And we are so glad for all the coincidences, sliding door style experiences that have led you here to us. And so we're grateful. you so remind me of the quote by Jacques Cousteau, that if a man, for whatever reason, has the chance to lead an extraordinary life, such as yours, we are grateful when he does not keep it to himself. So thank you very much for taking the leap of faith from the West End of London to Nairobi. I mean, what a journey, what a journey. First of all, I want to just congratulate you on all the wonderful work that you've done. I mean, it's an amazing array of productions, and to think that this is not necessarily where you set out to be is just unbelievable. You know, it's I look at the list of your productions, as you said, from Oliver, the West End, to Sarafina here, and even a book that, and I might be aging myself if I say that I studied this at school, Betrayal in the City. I'm looking forward to that already. And admittedly, it is a tough call because, like you said rightly, it hasn't necessarily been the most developed part of our cultural activity to enjoy theatre in the way that perhaps we could. And there's lots and lots of reasons for that. So we applaud your efforts, because this is the sort of thing that makes a difference long after our lifetime. And so it's such a wonderful thing that you're here with us at a time when the arts are evolving, the different types of art are evolving very swiftly before our very eyes. I want to just, on behalf of the club, thank you so much for making the time. And also withstanding our tough questioning. It comes from a good place, because we tend to want to support good causes, and once you've been refined in the fire, you will find a lot of us backing what you do in various ways, shapes and forms. And personally, I just want to really appreciate your good work, because I'm one of those who through high school had a space in my heart for the arts, but I was a scientist in my mind. And somewhere along the education system, you're forced to make a choice, and it's usually an either or. And so much as I love to play the piano, my attempts to get to the Conservatoire of Music were sort of halted, because my music teacher said, "Oh my goodness, are you going to medical school? You can't do this." And I said, "Why not?" So it's wonderful to hear from you that you have all this array of gifting, and that Kenya, with the side hustle scenario, has enabled you a little bit more than perhaps the West End of London might.
It's true.
And it's great. It's our gift.
Just add something to what you just said. Sorry to interrupt. Another thing I actually love about Kenya, there are no, I don't get those barriers put in the way that, like when we did Sarafina, we basically set fire to the stage, which was like, if you remember the film, that when they burned down the classroom, then we did. Now I just know if I try to do that in London, people will be, oh no, you can't do that. Oh, you can't have that wire there. You can't do this. You can't. There are so many barriers that are put in the way. Whereas I just feel that with actors in Kenya, it's like, let's do it. Let's just do it. There's that real enthusiasm, which is so infectious. And I would say I would always prefer to work with an actor who maybe not the most talented actor in the world, but they've got that enthusiasm and commitment to it in a way, I don't know, because they're just young and they really want to do it and they're passionate about it. So that combination is a really lovely environment to be around as well.
Well, I think there's a lot of us here who can completely resonate, and if one has had the experience of living in both countries, you know, we used to joke about the National Health Service, and you know, we were health and safetied out of doing things from the heart. You know, so much policy and regulation, and the freedom that we have here is a liberation of sorts. And so it's great that you feel that and that you're able to articulate that, and to make it turn around a group of people who may not otherwise have had the opportunity to express themselves. So well done to you, and we hope you will be back at some point soon, and we look forward to engaging you and making sure that we support your causes.
I mean, I absolutely, you're absolutely right. And it's not necessarily, okay, I gave an extreme example of having fire, but even there would be so many restrictions. People would be worried about this, that, and the other. Whereas here, it's just, in Kenya, it's just so, there's just such a like almost a progressive, just let's do it attitude. It's great. I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can go on and on, but I will allow President AG Ritesh. I call him President because when I joined the Rotary, he was getting into presidency. Forgive me, AG Ritesh. I shall hand this back over to you. But Stuart Nash, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Beatrice, for saying what actually resonates with so many of us. And you're absolutely right, especially for individuals who've had the opportunity to experience theatre here and in the West End. I mean, it's truly amazing. I recalled reading repeatedly, actually, the review which was written about your recent play in the Business Daily by Dr. Margareta Wagasheru. And it was about Molière. What an idea. And I can imagine how much work it must have been. And many congratulations on having excessive sales that you actually had a hard time refunding. And
well, the Molière one was actually on the Molière, that was for the Ngugi paper. The Molière one, it was actually Allianz paid for all the tickets were free. But we had a real problem with that because there were a number of ambassadors that came to the opening night, and there were just people on chairs, on the floor, sitting everywhere. And then the security got worried that there was going to be a problem. So they actually locked a lot of people out. They locked the door so nobody else could, not just into the auditorium, into the whole Allianz complex. So and then there were lots of people that were actually shut out who were kind of VIPs and everything else. So that was all a bit awkward. But anyway, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I must also say that the article which I read about the Ngugi wa Thiong'o play was also quite fascinating. And for that, I'd also like to thank Dr. Margareta for bringing these stories to us. And thank you, Mr. Nash, and congratulations on all the work you're doing. And you definitely will have a greater fan following going forward, including from this club. So thank you. Dr. Margareta, would you like to say something?
No, just to thank Stuart and congratulate you, and be assured I will keep our club on your upcoming.
Great. Oh, we've lost you. Okay. Thank you, Margareta. Yeah, I was actually really nervous about doing this. I was quite an honour to doing a speech for the Rotary Club. So I'm glad it went okay.
Very well indeed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank our speaker for the day, Mr. Stuart Nash. President Dr. Josephine Ojiambo sends her warmest greetings to all, especially our wonderful guest speaker. And if you have a drink, could you kindly raise your glass, alternatively hand to the chest, as we raise a toast to Rotary the world over.
Rotary the world over.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting is officially adjourned, and we can stay back and have a conversation if you wish.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stuart, I think Dr. Manu Shandaria was, I think, concerned because he, the structure, what you didn't explain was that the structure of an actual theater stage and it's very different from a stage for dialogue and panels and those sorts of academic presentations. Is that what you were trying to say, Stuart?
Dr. Margareta, I believe
Stuart left?
Mr. Nash has left.
Okay. Good.
Having
All
said
right.
so, thank you so much for bringing such a wonderful and interesting guest speaker.
Oh, well, my pleasure. And I'm glad people enjoyed. I trust that they did. Thank you.